The time Jungkook entered the bedroom which belonged to Jungmin since the beginning of their open relationship, Taeyoung and Jungmin stayed in different bedrooms. Jungkook could see Taeyoung sitting at the floor. His knees were hugged to his chest, and his tears streaked down his face as his body slightly trembled under the weight of God knew what, curled against the couch. Taeyoung was crying softly. There were no sniffles, no sound, but just his tears streaming down his face that shone under the dim golden light of the room. His heart broke into million pieces seeing the state of Taeyoung. Hell, he had never seen him like that, not even when years back he came to his house. When Jungmin had cheated on him, Jungkook ran towards him, which had Taeyoung looking up at him from the spot of the floor, and as soon as Jungkook's knees hit the floor, Taeyoung was landing himself in his arms. When Jungkook sat himself on the floor, Taeyoung's arms were curling around his neck with his body landing over Jungkook's lap. His hands tugged at Jungkook's hair with his face pressing itself against Jungkook's broad chest. His trembling, weak body clung to Jungkook, instantly melting and holding on to him in the same way as the drowning man would hold on to the straw being thrown at him. Jungkook's chest constricted at the sound of Taeyoung's cries that directly hit at the pulsing heart of his. The tattooed hand of his found its way in Taeyoung's sweat and respired damped hair, combing through them. He pressed his lips over the sweaty temples of Taeyoung, landing a soothing kiss there before managing to ask, "What happened? What happened? My love, petal, what happened? Did Jungmin say something? Did he say something to you?" he asked gently, landing kisses whichever part of Taeyoung's body his lips could reach, taking his mind off the fact that his whole body was covered in sweat. Taeyoung didn't answer, just kept himself silent and hiding himself away in Jungkook's arms from the darkness of thoughts that chased him relentlessly, without fearing anything, without seeing anything, something that has been his shadow since the very beginning, something that kept itself behind him since the very beginning. Jungkook watched and observed Taeyoung's condition. Knowing that what kind of person Taeyoung was, it was hard to believe that those two were the same people, the same persons. His Taeyoung was always smiling, breaking down, but having the courage to get up on his feet, losing hope, but still having a ray of light following behind, which Jungkook always believed was resting somewhere in his eyes, closing his blue eyeballs, inhaling his deep breath. Jungkook there both was hope. His arms there was around Taeyoung's melted body, holding him securely against himself. "It's fine, my love. Let it all out. Let it all out. Come on. Don't worry. I'll be here. I'll be here. I'll hold you till you are able to hold yourself up. Fall onto me. Break down. I'll always save you." Asterisk, asterisk. Hours and hours went by, and Jungkook and Taeyoung stayed in the same position as they were when they both found their way to each other. By the time when the sound of birds chirping resonated in around the silent half-dim room, Taeyoung wasn't crying anymore, but only laying in Jungkook's lap, with Jungkook's back resting against the wall and his hand still resting over Taeyoung's head, combing through his blonde strands lazily. His back ached, also did the back of Tae-young, but none of them had enough energy to get up and change their position. It was Tae-young who moved a little in his position, and getting back from Jungkook's chest he leaned back and looked at Jungkook, suddenly having their eyes meet. Tae-young's eyes were puffed, his eyelids red and light red, rimmed blue eyes when met Jungkook light brown, in which there were sun rays striking them at a certain angle. Tae-young's lips curled from the corners. Slowly reaching from his right hand, he let his finger get curled into Jungkook's hair from the back, dragging him down and capturing his lips in a kiss, a slow one, the one where they both explored each other as if strangers for the first time who had hooked up and decided to explore each other after a wild night, except that this time the wild night wasn't of pleasure and moans of reaching the high of pleasure, but the wild night of pain, kissing each other for a time that had Tae-young making sure that the bleeding wounds inside him were bandaged, but the love that Jungkook poured into the kiss, telling Tae-young that in his arms not only perfect parts of Tae-young were accepted, but also the broken and shattered of his laying in his lap, with his head lazily laying over his chest. Their eyes didn't leave each other, not did their soul, body, and mind. Looking in Jungkook's eyes with his hands clutching over his shoulder, Tae-young managed to ask, "It was you, wasn't it?" Jungkook's heart skipped a beat, his body getting in the alert state instantly. What do you mean? What? He shrugged, blinking his eyes. What are you talking about? Pedal. He asked, gently stroking Tae-young's cheek with his one odd arm wrapped around his back. It was you who held those men to whom my mother was indebted to. You were that man who stood at the sidelines that night, watched me. After getting rid of them, you immediately ran away, Tae-young stated, looking right in Jungkook's eyes, observing how his eyes widened little by little as the words kept escaping Tae-young's mouth, letting Tae-young come to conclusion that whatever he was thinking was true. Just then a wave of energy hit him that had him getting up and changing his position in a way that he wrapped his legs around Jungkook's waist, locking his feet against his back, locking his arms around his neck. His hands cradled his face, his thumbs stroking his cheek. You searched me, then, didn't you? You collected information on me for 3 months and then convinced your dad to marry young man to me because you wanted to save me. Jungkook's hands tightened over Tae-young's waist, his nails unconsciously digging into his skin. His eyes wavered, so did his heart rate and his flesh. Thoughts rang through his head, his eyes, and everything inside him trembling up to their last depths. Fearfully staring Tae-young, he opened his mouth, asked something, but then Tae-young's index finger pressing over his lips had him stopping in his tracks. Your dad's first love was someone who worked as a SUROX worker, and so you had him believing that I was the son of that woman, the woman who died of cancer. But my mother didn't. She didn't die of cancer. His hold on Jungkook's neck and jaw intensified She died of accident when returning home from her daily work, Tae-young stated, and then lowering himself down, he let himself snuggle in Jungkook's neck, rubbing his nose over the dip of his neck, inhaling the scent of his. That's why your scent felt familiar the first night we spent together, even though you hadn't taken shower and was still in your work clothes. But even then, this smell tugged over the nerves of my brain. That was the time when Jungkook decided to speak up. You knew how I smell like, he asked in a low tone, casting his face aside so as to let Tae-young kiss his neck and inhale the smell as much as he wanted. Tae-young nodded. You forgot your coat that night on the sidelines. In haste, he said, drawing himself back, looking in his eyes, and then hold of his legs tightened around Jungkook's waist, pressing his lower half against his well-built stomach. Why did you do it all? Jungkook pulled Tae-young even closer, packing his lips. You needed that. Your mother had so many people being after her because of the money she took from them. The accident you talked about. Tae-young's hands went cold. Wasn't his eyes. The man who sent that car she was killed. Your mother was someone who took the revenge of your mother, just brushing him off from years and not giving money. Jungkook held him. Maybe, I'm not sure. But that man still didn't stop. He sent those men to you, and if I wouldn't have been there by fate, I have no idea what would have happened to you. He brought him closer. I saw everything, and the more I got to know about you, the more I knew you needed to be there, in front of me, so I could make sure you were safe from all the darkness in the world. In the next second, Jungkook was changing their positions in a way that Tae-young's back met the floor, with Jungkook's body hovering over his in an instant, with Tae-young's legs still wrapped around Jungkook's waist and his hands cradling his face. Jungkook at once pulled him in a kiss before pulling apart and saying, I wanted to protect you from every kind of harm and the pain of losing Tae-young was not the time I laid his eyes but also you under those tone and street lights where you am sorry, staring them Tae-young pecked his helpless look on your face down to some extent, his chin, and I just couldn't stop myself from doing it all, matching Jungkook's eyes, said slowly, almost helplessly,